you as you're going through that. So kia ora and welcome to the scholarship webinar. And thank you, Steve and Kath, for putting this together and sharing your whakaaro on how we should be approaching, how we could be, tips and trips and things like that. And for everyone on the call tonight, when we've finished the presentation, we'll stop then and then you can have questions afterwards as well. And those people watching on the recording, we will be posting this in the forum so you can ask your questions via the forum as well. Okay, te pai. Kia
Awesome.
ora. Kia ora, Steve. Kia ora, Kath.
Thank
So,
you.
Kath, you can go
All right.
first.
Shall I? Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Yeah.
Hopefully this will work. And we'll make that big. Not share. Wrong button. Slideshow, that one. Can you see that all right?
yeah,
Oh,
good.
okay, awesome. Yeah, it's quite different. I'm used to using Google Meet, and it's a little bit different setup. But yeah, so Steve and I had a chat on Monday, and we and other days, not just Monday, but we thought we would keep this a little bit light, go through some of the things that we know are available for you, and yeah, and then just kind of see where we get to from there. There we are. So that's us. You can see us. Yeah. So for those that I haven't met, yeah, I'm Kath Langman. I teach digital technologies at Hillcrest High School. This is my 12th year here, and I think something like too many years teaching before that. And yeah, I teach mainly programming and a little bit of electronics and whatever, wherever they need me. So yeah, Steve, you wanna?
Yep. Hi, I'm Steve Rodkis. I'm currently teaching at Burnside High School. I've been there about 10 years now, and I'm entering my 30th year of teaching, just a
Amazing.
couple of years.
Yeah. So we thought we'd start off by showing you, hopefully you found these resources. If not, we're enlightening you with these resources that are available. And now I'm going to try and do some magic and see how I can maybe get this.
Yeah, you might need to unslideshow and then, oh, did that
Okay.
work? There you go.
Can you see that? You see
Yeah.
my okay, awesome. And so there's a couple of links on there, and you'll get these slides. But the first one you will definitely know. So that is the digital technologies page on the on NZQA. On there, you will find the scholarship. There's a couple of there's a link to the scholarship. There's two links, takes you to the same place, and then on there you will have seen that download there, which gives you these files here. And so hopefully you've located all of those. This folder, the exemplars folder, is contains the files that are last year's. Some examples from last year's a kind of a past paper, a student who got scholarship, a student who got outstanding, and the top scholar. And this one here is the files, the exam files, and then the bottom one is the markers report contained in there. So that's why I have this one open. Yeah. So in here, which one is this? This is the paper. So so you can go through and have a look at the questions that exist. Probably the least interesting one because blank questions. But this one, not that one. This one here is the one the person who got scholarship. And so it's a really great way for you to see some example answers. This person has written in Python. So the outstanding scholar wrote in C++. and there's a really good reason for that. So just, the way that they've written these answers, and you can kind of see the level of understanding that these students have in order to be able to write these answers. They've got a really good knowledge of algorithms, how algorithms work. They know some algorithms off the top of their head, and are able to look at some code and say, and work out that, oh, okay, that's this type of algorithm. They're able to write that more efficiently, and then they're able to talk about why their program is more efficient, which I think is, you know, pretty high level, it's scholarship level understanding. And so you can have a look, and then I'm just scrolling rapidly down. Because at the bottom it gives you the markers commentary so that you can actually see which questions they did better in, and the ways that the things that the marker was looking for in those questions, and maybe some of the things that they didn't quite get right that dropped their result down, which I think is, like a really good starting point. It's a really good thing for, to work with your students through. Yeah. And so, and then kind of alongside that is this document. You can see I've scrolled on them already and they're halfway down, but this is the assessment schedule. And I think for this, it's easy to look at the first page and see. So this is obviously what they're looking for, but if you scroll down, it's actually more specific of each question, the types of answers that received scholarship and an outstanding scholarship, and obviously not quite there. And you'll see the difference in here, that the extra things that those scholarship and outstanding students were able to do on top of those. But yeah, and all the questions are there, so keep scrolling down. Do you want to add to that, Steve?
No, it's pretty much it. That if you scroll right up to the top, for a second, a lot of people
Yeah.
forget to go past this, but this is that it's out of seven, 3 sections out of seven. So when you saw the marking schedule for the last scholar, the one that got scholarship, they got like a 7, which is the highest you can get in a question, and then a 5 and a 5. The grading is this weird thing where it's across all of this stuff. So analysis, synthesis, and integration is effectively, can you understand a problem? The coding and an efficiency is, can you write a solution to a problem? And the critical reflection is, can you write about your efficiency and compare it to other solutions to this potential problem. So it kind of, like, it was funny when this came out. It made me laugh because it's like a programming contest. It very much is. There's a problem that comes out, and the kids that are really good at this stuff are able to use a very high level of programming knowledge and the patterns that they've recognized from all the practice that they've done to be able to easily pick up a problem. And this will look like complete gobbledygook unless you look very specifically at any one particular problem and how it was answered across all of them. If you scroll down to the first question or something, Kath, the top part, the below scholarship column, is the answers to, it turns out, is the answers to all of the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and however long it goes. And so you can look down the bullet points and see how they've answered all of the questions. And the difference is just the scholarship is, like, what they did at below scholarship was not enough. They're obviously smart kids. They've gone in scholarship, but it shows you what they didn't quite get, and then scholarship, and then how you got to outstanding. So there's a lot of detail in there, a lot of detail. It gives you a rough idea of the level that the kids have to be able to attempt this type of exam.
Mm. Yeah, pretty. It's great. I mean, it's a great resource to have in there. So, yeah, that was all I had. So now, do you want to share, or shall I jump out?
Oh, sure, I'll share if you want to unshare.
Yeah. Um,
I've got it. I think. Right.
Here we go.
So move that over there. Am I sharing my screen now? I'll bring this one over here. There we go. Cool. So I was going to go over the rest of this stuff. So if I just do the slideshow, I'll quickly jump and then we'll give you lots of opportunity for questions. So the obviously we've got all of the info that Kath has covered that you'll find on the NZQA site. That's basically what so you can understand what you're letting the poor your poor kids in for. I take it Manu and Daniel, you're all gonna have kids doing scholarship this year?
Yeah, I've got some students that are quite interested and they're definitely kind of looking into it themselves. So I
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
just want to be prepared for them.
I've
Yeah,
got around six currently.
Nice.
awesome. Good number. Um, the if you've never did you both do it last year as well? No? Cool. So you're and Helen as well, you've got kids involved?
Yeah, I had one boy got it last year, but with absolutely no help from me.
Well, I got a few that got it and they didn't get any help from me either. I think I think that's we can do our best to prepare them. It's so new that we're all kind of stabbing at what the best solutions are. I've got a few of the things that I use that maybe I feel helped. It probably helps more so for the kids who are keen on programming contest type things. But because there's so much similarity between them, it makes sense that they're doing like the same things because the type of stuff that they get good at by doing all the programming contest stuff is the type of stuff that will benefit them when they come to scholarship, plus a little. So I will exit out this. So I've got a couple. So the first one that we saw there was W3 Schools. If you've never seen this before, this is W3 Schools has a section for DSA, which is data structures and algorithms. You just go to W3 Schools, which is where we go all the time, and scroll across the top till you get to DSA. Data structures and algorithms is a level of a one level university course, but it's where scholarship sits, uh, right at that sort of that intersection point. Inside DSA, this is a great resource because there's a lot of interactives that you can play with. There's some code that you can see. It covers on the left. You can see it covers a lot of the key things that they're going to need to understand. There's some stuff on sorting. There's some stuff on lists, stacks, queues, all the data structures that they're going to need for more efficient algorithms as they find more complex problems. Trees, graphs, um, known algorithms, magic algorithms like Dijkstra's and shortest path and minimum spanning trees. These are all like learnable. And when the kids do enough of them, they see the pattern in similar problems. I also write programming contest problems, and literally I take these patterns and I hide them behind a story, and that's what effectively it is. That's what they all are. They're the same sort of patterns. And you do when you start to see some of the resources that I'm going to show you, you'll see that they repeat the same patterns and the same algorithms. So DSA on W3 Schools is a great place to start. It's written, interactive, it's pretty good. HackerRank is another one. So HackerRank used to be used to hire people. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, they always used to hire people from their scores in HackerRank. It's changed now, and I'll show you the one that they've changed to. But there's a whole section on problem solving that you can go to. The problem solving is just problems that follow similar algorithmic patterns, things like graph theory, dynamic programming. You can actually choose a section, a subdomain in here for specific problems. If you really need to get your kids to understand, I don't know, something like graph theory, like a breadth first search or something, you can find it in here. So HackerRank's really good, and you just answer You click solve challenge and you answer, read the problem, understand it, decompose it, which is all the stuff that comes from scholarship. Once you've decomposed the problem and sort of applied your previous knowledge, you'll be able to write some code that you hope is efficient and run it against the solution to see that it meets all of the criteria. And then you find out whether you've passed or not. But then you also, the next step in scholarship is being able to like talk about the solution that you've written and how efficient it is and how it might compare to another way that you could have done it. In a similar note, taking over from HackerRank these days is LeetCode. You may have heard of LeetCode as well. LeetCode is there's more resources than you could ever want to complete. 3,544 problems in here on the topic of algorithms alone. So unless you hate yourself, I would stick with medium, easy and medium, because the hard are really, really hard. But they'll obfuscate some of the simple things. You can see in every problem that if you click through into a problem, you can see that they follow a similar pattern in that you'll get written problems, just like the scholarship is. There's a problem you have to understand, some examples that give you the idea of what it is, and then you have an attempt to solve it. Why HackerRank and LeetCode are quite good is because there's usually people who've got some solutions that you can take a look at. Obviously, in a world of AI, the AI can answer these in a split second, but you want the kids to be able to answer it on a whiteboard effectively. So they can use this as training and then get themselves used to the seeing the patterns and decomposing the problem and writing the code. What was next? I have an admission. Last year, we got a few scholarships, but I did very little teaching because I have a kid who won the NZPC, the New Zealand Programming Contest. Absolute superstar, and he taught all the lessons, and he went to Geeks for Geeks a lot. So Geeks for Geeks is it's written, but Geeks for Geeks, if you do a search for something that you might need, a problem that you might need to solve, like something to do with, I don't know, breadth first or quick sorts or something, you can find it on Geeks for Geeks, and it's really well written and it really well explained. And then you go practice the algorithm that it's trying to teach you. A lot of this is in different places. I put them here in the slides, and I'll come back to that next one. But I made a resource on Tequity. Tequity is kind of like a resource for Digitech teachers. The Tequity Hub has the electronics, secondary, intermediate, and primary. Inside of the secondary, you'll see up the top all the different levels and all the different courses. Scholarship is now in here. So there's one called Digital Technologies. And there is what we've discussed. There's the NZQA page and the assessment specs and performance standard. There's a little scholarship presentation that I did when I did PD last year, and a short slide to go with it, basically talking about how a good algorithm you can solve a problem or you can solve it efficiently. And we want to get the kids to be able to talk about big O notation, the cost of an algorithm and its time complexity, and to be able to understand how to analyze an algorithm so that they can talk about the efficiency of the solution that they made and recognize those patterns. The big O notation video is the best one I could find. W3 Schools is what I've mentioned before. There is the existing stuff that we have right now is a CS field guide, algorithms and complexity and tractability. This, I believe, is a level 3 topic this year for computer science. Kath can probably tell me if it is. I think it is, yeah. And the precursor, we used to have this brilliant level 1 standard called algorithms. I loved that. It was so good. And it got binned, which was sad because it was good. It was a really good precursor to all this stuff. And then there's some stuff on data structures, the different data structures that you might not see. So most kids know lists, and then they learn dictionaries. Sometimes we jump then to classes, but there's a lot in that we're missing in between. So stacks, queues, trees, and there's explanations in each of them. And then some of the sort of common algorithms, I tried to find the best video for each of them. So BFS, DFS, two-pointer, dynamic programming, DP. There's another one on 2D DP, which is a little bit more complex than this, and then Dijkstra's algorithm. They come up in programming contests all the time at the highest end. And that is where the scholarship kids are supposed to be. Which brings us back mostly to what Kath is involved in, which is programming contests. Do you want to take over again, Kath?
Yeah, I'll just talk to your slide, but the NZ Olympiad of Informatics, which is the NZOI, runs a New Zealand informatics competition 3 times a year, and it's really, really good way for students to practice programming essentially, but get good at those quite high level algorithms. It's hard. But there's lots of practice on there. You can go through and do the old problems and work through them and test them out in the system to see it working on the being run through the test program. It runs. The next one, is coming up in week 11, and so the students can do it any time in that week. They can just choose a 3-hour window. Surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly for teenagers, a lot of them do it on Sunday afternoon. So yeah, they've kind of left it to the last minute. But ideally, they would do this invigilated, so with somebody, in a class, maybe with a teacher who can make sure that they are following all of the rules. There's a lot of reliance on the students following their rules and not using AI or resources, outside what is allowed. So and the people who write and mark the questions, they go through and check. They've got some really good tools that goes through and checks that they're not using AI and things. But yeah, it's amazing training. If they do really well in the NZOI and NZIC competitions, they get picked to go to Code Camp, which is in January, and they get taught to program in C++, which is what's used at the International Olympiad, and they become C++ converts, which is why, their outstanding scholarship will be a past or maybe a current Olympiad competitor. And so that's why their algorithms and programming knowledge is outstanding scholarship level, just because of the work that they've been doing in the background. Yeah,
I was going to say, a lot of you saw the scholarship list, Kath, and said basically they were all names from the camp.
From camp, yeah. And
odd thing.
actually, a lot of them have that kind of past camp, and they're helpers now. Like they're in year 13. They were in year 13 last year, which means they can't now qualify for IOI because they would have been too old. But they had done scholarship while they were in year 13. So yeah.
That's cool. The other competition is an in-person competition. Whatever you do, do not Google NZPC. It's not what you think it is.
No.
The New Zealand Prostitutes Collective is not something you want to Google at school. But when you find the New Zealand Programming Contest, that one hasn't got a date yet, but that's one of the biggest competition. It's at a high school and tertiary level, and open, and it runs in the main centre. So it runs Auckland, Waikato, Wellington, Christchurch, Dunedin, and somewhere else. Am I missing one?
I
I'm
think
not
it's
sure I'm
all.
missing one. I think
Yeah.
that could be it. So it runs all at the main. It's done by university. It's hosted at Canterbury actually with Richard Lobb, but it's across those different regions. So if you can get to it and you've got kids that are super keen, it's a great opportunity. They get to see they soak up the university atmosphere and be surrounded by other nerds. So it's pretty cool to go to. And I think that's about it. Questions? I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, I've got a couple. Am I
Yep.
on mute? I think I just
Yeah,
Yes,
you're
I
on,
can
Helen.
hear
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know what my computer's doing weird stuff today. In terms of the answers, like, do you do any specific, sorry, the sun's shining in my face too. Any specific teaching to how to word the answers and any kind of explicit writing, or is it just looking at algorithms and they kind of pick up the language as they go?
Want to go first, Kath?
Um, I haven't, no.
Okay.
And so I've kind of left it to them, but it's probably not a bad idea. And especially now that we've got, some good exemplars to be able to go through and kind of, work on how they might answer a question. Yeah, it is probably a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, then
Um,
question number two. Sorry, if anyone else has a question. With the new curriculum and they're specifying, well, they've said to be teaching in Python.
Mm.
How many of you teach in C++? Like, I've been looking at it because I decided I was going to start with C++, and then now this new curriculum has come out. I'm kind of in two minds now.
There's no reason why you can not teach the C++. I think, other than Waikato, most universities teach Python as the introductory programming. It's got the reasons for being why you would do that. There's a real ton of resources around learning Python. It's most commonly used as learning for the language because of its readability and lack of sort of verbosity that a lot of the other ones have. But it really doesn't matter. I mean, you've got negatives for every language. I think C++, I've taught C# and C++, and I can't tell you how many times I nearly drove me mental, curly brackets and semicolons, and the lack of formatting, whereas Python is just like the formatting is the structure. It's easier to debug for me. I've still got my hair, see? So it's because I teach Python. If I didn't, it might be something different. So yeah, you're welcome to teach anything. There'd be no reason, Helen, are you familiar with C++ already?
Yeah, I've been doing the Massey University course. My son's doing it and he's giving me all the notes and stuff. So I've been doing the first kind of year paper with him. And I've enjoyed it, and I can see why, yeah, I can see why it's useful, but I'm just kind of going, well, if we're being told we're going to be using Python within the new curriculum, then I don't know, because then I've got half my kids, my top kids, and that they would be my scholarship kids are also in the Waikato paper, so they're doing C#. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of weighing up, is it worth introducing a third language to those top kids? Or,
It's not necessarily about the language. I mean, the syntax it's just syntax. It's more about what they're familiar with. I mean, the kids who do well can code in either or pseudocode. The You'll note in the exam they're not actually writing compiled or interpreted code. They're just writing in a text box. So it doesn't not it's not tested to run. It just should run, which I know
yeah,
seems insane. So the simpler the language and syntax, the better. It doesn't matter if they had missed a semicolon or whatever. I don't think they're going to get marked down for that. It's just that is
okay,
the algorithm correct? And the syntax that they use is just the language they're familiar with.
yeah,
I must admit there are some benefits to C#. There are that if the kids are familiar with it, just use it. But C# is relatively uncommon in programming contests because you have to type a lot to do the same thing that you would do in C++ or Python.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit boilerplate and overhead. The University of Canterbury, in their introductory computer science course, over the course of their 3 years, they'll learn 14 different languages. It's not important after the first language how many they do. It's just syntax.
Okay.
I recommend Python, but then Kath will probably recommend C#. So
I've always done Python. It's just because I had a boy go to that training camp, and when I was talking to him afterwards, and I said, "What would your one recommendation be that I should be doing with the boys that are doing the programming competitions?" And he said, "Learn C++." And then my son just happened to enroll in Massey where they were doing C++, and I thought, perfect opportunity to learn it. But I do find myself doing it in Python first and then translating it across.
And that's exactly what the kids did at camp as well, because they'd all learned Python, and then they came and were like, okay, how would I do this in Python? But at the end of the week, they didn't need to. They were just going straight into C++, but yeah.
Can I also say that the reason why you run C++ in programming contests is because it literally runs 10 times faster.
Yeah.
And the competitions are always about whether your code completes the algorithm in a reasonable length of time. They're all set up to be like right at the limit. A bad algorithm will fail on a time limit exceeded, and a good algorithm will pass. And C++, you can write you can write a bad algorithm, but you can write a slightly slower algorithm, and it will pass a C++ when it won't in Python. In fact, can I tell you a funny story? I had a kid at the what was the New Zealand? No, it was the Canterbury Schools Programming Contest, and he wrote his the final question, which is a 100-point question, in Python, and it time limit exceeded, and then so he rewrote it in C++ and it passed, same algorithm, and he was quite smart.
Yeah. And my boys in the New Zealand programming competition won. I had one boy that was a C++, and then his two partners were Python. And there were things in some of the questions that Python did differently from C++, especially in terms of rounding numbers and things that the Pythonistas found frustrating.
Was that last year's NZPC?
Yeah.
It was awful. There was so many floating point questions in there. It was a nightmare. I remember I did some of the questions too, and there was errors in my Python code that weren't errors, and it was because of the sample rounding and differently in C++. They try and avoid that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
How about Manu and Daniel then? Anything?
Do you feel like you're on the right track, Daniel?
Yeah. Like I've got a lecture tomorrow when I talk about sets and just starting at sorting algorithms.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's going to be tomorrow's thing.
Yeah.
So I've got no real questions.
If I was going to say anything, one of the high-end stuff that the kids have to do, it's not a knowledge so much as it's a skill. They have to practice it. You know what I mean? So the only way to get really good is they can know it, but then can they actually do it or recognize it in a problem that's slightly worded differently? And then can they write the algorithm? So if you can find things that are interesting that they can repeat, so your own class competitions or every lesson you chuck up a code WOF or leak code problem up, and then they just constantly the repetition and practice to really get their Python muscles working, or C++ or C# muscles. Sorry, I always call it Python muscles.
Just programming, yeah.
The programming muscles.
But yeah, they do, and they learn because a lot of those problems are time-based. They or they are subtask based. So it might their solution might pass for some of the subtasks, but then they have to change it or like make it a bit more efficient to be able to pass more of the subtasks will be that bit quicker. So so they kind of figure out they're essentially answering the questions from scholarship, doing that, you know.
Can I also go back to what Helen had said about the specific language? And one of the things you could do, if you've got kids that have never done the scholarship last year, that didn't do it last year, you can give them the last year's 2025 paper as a practice exam, closer to the time. And all of the answers for every single question is in the marking schedule. And so you can have a rough idea of whether they've managed it or not.
Mm.
There was who was it from? There's a teacher from Mochiweka made one with AI. She put that paper in, and then got it to make a similar paper and the marking schedule using AI, because it had a decent ballpark with the initial paper. And she got people to check it over, and I looked it over, and it was great, and it had added in tracing tables and all sorts of cool things. So it is possible to generate your own practice exam, and hopefully that will help with getting the kids to be able to think about not just the code, but the analysis of the problem, which is the initial part, and then the evaluation of their solution as the part after the code.
Awesome.
Cool. It's a very quiet
well.
group, Tracy.
That's great. I mean, anyone can post onto the forum some questions. So, yeah. Well, thanks everyone for coming.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
No, it's been good.
Yeah, thank you.